Right, hello, welcome to M-tel. Today I'm working on this R32 engine. This is out of a Mark IV Golf. It's a 53 plate, R32, 3.2 V6. Basically the engine's been removed out of the car because of gearbox failure, and whilst we were there we thought it would be a good idea to do the chain basically on the engine. Now, I've already fitted the chain. I'm going to talk you through the process for fitting the chain on one of these engines. Now they are quite simple. They look very technical, but they're not that bad. Now basically you've got a runner here, another runner back here. This is the actual tensioner runner. This is where the spring load tensioner mounts. Then we've got the bottom runner and the bottom sprung load tensioner basically. This is a ratchet tensioner, so as it comes out it won't allow itself to go back in. But there's a little hole here which you can flick the ratchet down with a little screwdriver and push the piston back. But as soon as you let go of it, it'll unspring, so you need to tie it up with something to hold it back. Now, when you come to take this chain off, the easiest way to do it is to undo this bolt here basically. This is your intermediate shaft, basically your slave shaft in the middle of the block. You've got your bottom chain which comes up around the big gear, and then it's transferred to this little gear to the two main cam gears at the top. Now basically to get the chain off, undo this bolt which is here, hold the crank, crack it off, take that bolt out basically once you've got the covers off. When you take the covers off, they're quite simple. Take the chain tensioner out the back first, just unscrew that, pull that out the back, take your cover off, take the top cover off, two bolts here, bolts around here, bolts around here, pull the top cover off, and then there's a row of bolts around the bottom, undo them, and then slowly work the cover off at the bottom. Then basically, once you've got that off, you're at the chain. You want to put a top dead centre before you take all this off. There's a mark here and a shaved tooth here which lines up with this part of the block. Line them up and then turn it till the cams line up. Both lobes should be pointing towards each other and up at the far end. Then get a bit of 4mm plate, lock the cams off. Then what you do, once you've done that and she's locked top dead centre, undo this nut. The small cam gear will pull out, fish the small cam gear out, and then you can lift the chain up and unhook it off of the gears basically. So do that, then undo this lower bolt here, all the bolts, another bolt, two bolts here, two bolts here. Undo these two, take the back tensioner off, undo these two. You don't really have to undo these two, you can take the chain off, then slide this out. Undo these two, then that one, this tensioner will come off. Strip it all out, so take this off, take this off, take this one out, take your back gear off, take all the gears, take all the chains off. Then basically what you want to then do is then you need to clean all the sealant off. And the best way to do this is get a little bit of oil, wipe it over all the surfaces so it's slightly wet, then get a small wire brush and basically scrape it all off with a wire brush. And what will happen, where you've got the oil on the faces, it'll go like a paste, like a mush. So rather than it flaking off and going everywhere, it will stay together and stay where it should be. And then you can just wipe it away. Then once you've done that and cleaned them all off, I went over mine with a bit of Scotch-Brite to clean them all up. Not wire wool, use the plastic type Scotch-Brite because the wire wool will fall to pieces and then go all inside the engine and basically destroy it. So a little bit of Scotch-Brite, clean it all up. Wipe all the surfaces off with a bit of brake cleaner, then you can start refitting your chain. Before you fit your chain, the two cams, these are vernier pulleys basically, hydraulic verniers. You've got to turn them all the way to the right and then all the way back to the left. And you've got to do that both gears, and what that does is it resets the verniers ready to take the new chain. Then what you do is basically go for your lower chain first, make sure she's in top dead centre. There's a flat on the end of this intermediate shaft which lines up with the top gear. And basically what you do, get your chain on, loop it around the back through here, make sure it's tight, then put that intermediate gear on and make sure this chain is taut. Then get your back tensioner, make sure the surface for this is clean, bolt that back on, and then basically there should be like a little hook. You unpull that and then it basically loads the chain whilst the gear's all pushed on basically. These two bolts at the bottom, do them up to 8 Newton meters. These two, if you take them out, 10 Newton meters. Once you've got them back in, fit this top chain runner. They're basically 10 Newton meters, all 3 bolts. I've read somewhere that it's supposed to be 23, but I tried taking them a bit past 10, and I wouldn't risk it. I done these up to 12 Newton meters, these two. This one up to 10. On the top chain, you've got a number of painted links. You've got 3 here, 1 over here, and 1 here. Now, basically, I've rotated the engine to make sure it all clears properly. But when you put it together, you have 1 link. There's an arrow here and an arrow right here, etched into the metal surface of them 2 gears. You put 1 link on that, and then you put the other link on the other one, and then the 3 links which go around here, there's a mark on the middle of the bottom of this small pulley, and that little mark should point to the centre painted link at the bottom of the chain. Line them up, slip the bottom gear in, so that'll be in, and then get your tensioner plate, which is this one, slide it down and round, put the pin back in. That one does up to 10 Newton meters, that one does up to 10 Newton meters. I've done these 2 up to 12, gave them a little tweak up. And then this bolt that's in the centre, do that up, torque that up to 60 Newton meters with a 90-degree turn. Make sure when you do it as well, you replace this bolt, because it's a yield bolt. It needs to be replaced when you remove it. And once you've done that, wipe all the surfaces back off with brake cleaner, and then you're then ready to glue your covers back on. That's what I'm going to do now. Glue the casing, put a little bit of glue in there, like that, 2 beads, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and then just glue around the surface of the outside of the chain where it meets all the faces, basically. Put the lower chain cover on first, then once you've done that, put the top one on. Make sure as well on the top chain cover, there's a couple of gaskets that need to be replaced. I haven't changed these 2 which surround these, I've left them, but there's a little baby O-ring at the back which feeds oil to the hydraulic tensioner, which tensions the top chain, and then there's an O-ring which goes in here, which goes round the water jacket for the thermostat housing. Make sure you replace that, and then basically, just like I said, just glue around these surfaces. Try to take it around the inside of everything like that. A nice small bead, same with this side. Clean it all off, wire brush it off, just flush it all away, glue around here, same on the other chain, like the other cover. You want to glue on the bottom cover, you want to glue around the top, obviously, down the faces, here, 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 not this surface here, you glue along the bottom. Pull the big end oil seal out when you refit your casing. Then when you bolt these all up, all the small bolts around the outside go to 10 Newton meters, all locked off to 10 Newton meters. Do them first up to 5, give a little bit of time to breathe, and then do them up to 10, maybe 12 max. As well, when you bolt these all up, stagger it. So don't just go all the way around the outside, 1 here, 1 over there, like that, and stagger it and slowly pull it in, basically. Same with the top once you've got that. And then these 2 here, I'll have to have a look in the torque setting. I know they're higher than 10 Newton meters. I believe for some reason they're 23, but don't count me on that. I will check my paperwork before I bolt these up. But that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to flush it out, wipe it off, and I'm going to put the covers back on. So I think that's all you need to know. Also, another torque setting, when you come and put your flywheel back on, because obviously you've got to take your dual mass off, the bolts that hold your actual dual mass on, they are 60 Newton meters with a 90-degree turn. As well, when you change your dual mass flywheel, make sure you get some new bolts, because they are stretch bolts as well. So you've got to replace them as well. So there you go. Right, and these 2, like I said, these 2 are the only ones. These are done up to 8 Newton meters. Pretty much everything else is done up to 10, apart from that bolt, 60 Newton meters, 90-degree turn. Right, okay. Let's get to work. Bottom cover's now done. Got the glue in place. Now what we've got to do is put this cover on. And what we need to do is get hold of this cover, like so. And then basically, this has got to be tucked into the bottom like so. And lift this up and then onto the dowels. Drop the belt, drop the cover, like so. Simple as. That's on that dowel. And basically what we need to do, we've got a dowel there and we've got another dowel just down here. And that's got go onto that. Like so. And onto the top one, like so. Right, simple as. Pop the excess away. And what we've got to do, get the bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you still notice as I'm putting these in, my bottom cam gear, bottom seal is still out. It's just easy to put it on and then put the seal on afterwards. Tap around, 10mm, and then slowly but surely work your way around the chain housing. So one there, over there, just slowly work your way around, one there. Okay, right, my bottom chain cover is on and torqued up, so I've got it all on, done them all up 10mm all the way around. I've still got these 2 bolts here and here. The gasket's sitting on top, got nice oozage around the bottom all the way around the casing, so that's brilliant. Ready to put my top cover on. Now what I need to do is put a bit of oil around these. Basically these are the hydraulics control valves. So what I need to do is just wet these off. So get a little bit of engine oil or something. All around that one. All around that one. Now that basically will allow the seals to slide over. So now basically I've also got my 2 gaskets in place, my new gaskets. I've got an O-ring here, new O-ring, and I've also got my thermostat housing one basically between chain housing and cylinder head. Also make sure you flush this out. This is where your hydraulic tensioner goes. Make sure you clean that out good and proper because they get gooped up basically, like filled with gunk, and then you have trouble with chain tension basically. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put this on now. Now what you want to do, push this down on to the glue. Now we've got to put this through here and here. So keep it as high as you can. And push them on. Then you have to push this chain housing down and on at the same time. That, and this one goes on. That's it. Now basically you'll lose a lot of glue around the glue line. Don't worry too much about that. Now that's on. Seal went in nice. So the way to check, get a torch quickly. So get my little torch. While shining down between here, I can actually see the O-ring mounted against the cylinder head. Now basically what we now need to do is get these bolts in place for the cylinder head. 2, 3. So we've got these 2 nuts which go in the bottom. One there, one there. And then basically what we've got one here, one here, one here. Like I said, these are all 10 Newton meters. One there and one there. And there's one more which sits on the very outer edge. Just there. Just basically, I'm going to stick that one in there. So, and what we need is 5mm, like so. I basically get the extension, put that on there, screw them in, one, all hand tight like so. Then we have these 2 bolts which come up from the bottom. Now these are quite important, so what I would suggest you do, so these ones have got to go in now. Put this one in here. So. In here. Now basically you don't want to lock the ones off on the face until you nip these up a little bit. The reason being is you want to keep them 2 surfaces together as much as possible. Okay, right, tops on, bolts all pushed up tight. Now what we've got to do is we've got two stages basically. So the first stage is we've got to do the bolts up 4 to 5 Newton meters in a staggered formation. Right, once you've got them done up like so, then you have to do these up to 23. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do them up to 10. Do them up to 10. Right, now we go for the rest of these. Basically these are done at 10 Newton meters now, lock them off. There we go. That one. Crosswood pattern. See. Right, so that's done up. Now we continue and do these up to 23 Newton meters basically. Right. Put that on there. That one. Right, there we go. We go back to the 10 and just circle round. One, 2. Now we go back to the bottom. 10. Do up. Right, and there you go. Last thing's loose. These 3 bolts. What we've done up from the bottom. One here. So you do them up, and then I'll do them up, then we'll have a look at this crank. Right, okay, so chain casing's done, rocker cover's just sitting on there at the moment. Next job is to basically install my big end crank seal, which is this thing here basically. Now this goes in here, got this small little adapter basically. This plastic collar in here helps you basically put the seal on, because basically what will happen is that lip sometimes will try snagging on the end of the camshaft and twist up. So what this does is you stick that on there and it allows you to push the seal onto the actual crank without doing any damage to the seal basically. So that's what that's for. So now what we've got to do is we have got to oil this up and oil the seal. Or what the other option, what we could do is we could grease it. So let's get a bit of grease. Yeah, so I'm going to grease this on installation. A little bit of grease. And here. And there. And put a bit on the outside. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to basically pull this out, and I'm going to grease inside this seal here, like so. That. Okay, push it back in, work it in. Going that way, so you put it in this direction. So, like that. What I'm going to do is going to grease around here, like so. And I'm going to grease around the outside of the seal, so it slides in nice. There we go. Right, seal is now greased. Put that on there. What I'm going to do is slide that in like so. There we go. It's not really where I wanted it. I'd rather have had it sitting a bit more prouder than that. But, yeah, there we go. See? Right, next, rocker cover. Right, next, got to fit this. This is my chain tensioner. Basically, I'll put this in. I'm going to put a little bit of oil around it, a little lube, and there, and the back there to help it slide in, down thread. So, and this goes in here. Now this tensioner, I'm putting in, goes in there. Done up to 40 Newton meters. Wind this in. There we go, that's on. Right, the next job is put the rock cover on. I've already built the rock cover up, put the new gaskets on and everything. So now basically I've got there's a joint here where the outer timing chain meets the cylinder head. You need to goop that, put some glue on that, so just a tiny bit, and then basically I would do this little semicircle area, a bit there, a little bit there, very very thin amount. Right, so next, putting the rock cover on. Now basically, I've already built the cover up, so I've inserted and put all the new gaskets in. Now basically when you put this on, the centre ones just basically just sat in there, so give it a quick shake, make sure nothing moves, and then basically what you've got to do is now put that corner on there, put that underneath there, get that one in there, make sure Now she's down. Now what you do, get your torch, let's have a look around the gasket, make sure it's all good. Yep, we're sitting all good round there, all in the groove. All round there's in the groove nicely. Yep. Whoop, you fell over. Yep. Now the most important with this is the centre ones. Have a good old look at them and make sure none of them are moved. It's very common they slide out of place. Now basically I know that that's all in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bolt her down. This one to there. The good thing about this gasket is we pretty much base it out by hand. Okay. Right. Two. Right, so that's that. Now that's left. I'm not going to cut these, I'm just going to nip these up. But if you could, I would probably go for something like 10 Newton meters or something. Let's have a look. Give it a little test run, shall we? 10 is good enough. See how that feels on the small ratchet. Yeah, about 10 Newton meters, maybe 12. Drop down a bit more. Give that a go. Yeah, maybe 8. Yeah. Go for about 8. There we go. Done. And there you have it. That's the end of doing a timing chain on an R32. Now what I've got to do, so the engine's now back together and sealed. So pretty much next job for me is now to build it back up, put it back in the car. Got to put the gearbox on, so and so and so. Basically build her back up. So simple as really.